CENG 43, Spring 2014, presented to Dr. Khaled Nassar. Project 1, Paint. Painting is a tradition and something that goes way back in time. It is a means of decorating a place, personalizing the space, and creating a user-friendly environment where the people could express their traditions and societal norms and beliefs. Painting was used as a finishing material on the walls of caves at a time which dates as far as 4,000 years back. Back in the days, paint was made of natural materials such as red and yellow ochre. Here are some historical facts that could sum up the evolution of painting over time. In Dendera, colored walls were found from 2,000 years back that remain very vivid until today. That is because a gummy substance was applied to the paint. The color template in ancient Egypt was composed of 6 colors: white, blue, yellow, red, green, and black. In the painting process, they started by painting the entire wall in white, then tracing the outline of the design in black. In Rome, paint was made with egg yolk. Therefore, the substance would harden and hold on to the surface it was applied to. As for color pigments, they were extracted from natural elements such as plants, sand, and different soils having oil or water as their base component. England in the 17th century was very innovative in terms of its painting techniques. Marshall Smith invented a machine or engine for the grinding of colors in the year 1718. The operating process of this painting mechanism still remains unknown. However, that device increased the efficiency of pigment grinding drastically. That machine was also very economic, and soon Emerton and Mamby Company started advertising economic and low-priced paint that was ground using a labor-saving technology. The Industrial Revolution played a role in the production process of paint. During that time, paint was being ground in steam-powered mills. Zinc oxide was discovered to be an alternative to toxic lead-based pigments. With the rise of technology, interior housing painting was becoming the norm in the 19th century onwards, paint being used for the decorative reasons as well as for the protection of the wall from rotting due to damp and humid environments. Linseed oil was also used increasingly as an economic binder. In 1866, Sherwin-Williams in the United States opened a large paint-making company and invented a paint that could be used from the tin without preparation. This made things a lot easier for the user and gave more room for being able to paint one's home without the help of an expert or professional painter. Last but not least, after World War II created a shortage in linseed oil, artificial resins and alkyds were invented to substitute linseed. Alkyds provided a base that was cheap, economic, easy to make, and durable. Paint can be classified in 3 ways. The first is into architectural and industrial paints. Under architecture, we have synthetic alkyd-based paints, emulsion paints, synthetic varnishes, processed oil and oil-based paints. And under industrial paints, we have automotive stoving paints, automotive refinishing paints, stoving electrostatic enamels, metalwork stoving enamels, wood finishes, heavy-duty paints, marine paints, and general industrial paints. Matte paint, as the name suggests, is characterized by being flat or not shiny. It has an advantage of hiding imperfections such as brush marks. It is used for interior walls and painted ceilings. Matte paint should not be used in kitchens, bathrooms, or kids' rooms, as it does not wash out well. Eggshell paint has a small amount of sheen when dried. It is used on interior walls as it washes a little better than matte. It is interchangeable with matte paint finishes with certain brands of paint. The satin finish is the glossiest paint finish. It has a smooth shine when dried. It is a great choice for kids' rooms as it stands up well to washing. However, it does not hide imperfections in the workmanship. Semi-gloss and high-gloss paints reflect the most light when dried. They are generally used in kitchens and baths since they can stand up to water. They can also be used for painting furniture to give it a modern look or durable finish. Finally, the fox finish or decorative painting technique is used to give the appearance of natural stone or marble. It includes layers of paint and glaze in realistic stone colors, applied with a variety of different brushes. Veined lines are then added to capture a natural look. The final result mimics real texture. The drawback of this technique is that it needs a lot of experimentation to master. However, it is quite volatile as it can be applied to metal, wood, and plastic, among other materials. Further classification of paint includes solvent-based paints, water-based paints, varnishes, printing inks, and resins. Oil-based paints are rarely used anymore. They have a very strong odor and are difficult to clean up. In addition, they take long to dry and do not hold up well over time. On the other hand, water-based paints such as latex paint are easy to clean up, dry quickly, and last longer on the wall. They're the best choice for interior painting. Pigments are solid particles that reflect the light rays in various manners to help prolong the life of the color of the paint and protect metals from corrosion. They have a general requirement of being opaque, chemically inert to secure stability in the bind, non-toxic, and low cost. Pigments can either be organic or inorganic. Organic are more preferable due to their availability and greater benefits. Solvents are the volatile part of the mixture dedicated to dissolving the binders, adjusting the viscosity, and to maintain a uniform thickness to the final coating of the painted surface. They can be classified mainly in the local market as mineral spirits or xylene and toluene. The key to the paint mixture is the binder, which creates the bond between the pigments to the substrate. Three major types of binders include long oil and medium oil alkyd resins, acrylic emulsions, and other industrial resins. Additionally, other materials such as additives, fillers, or extra raw materials are added into the mixture. The main additives seen in the industry are wetting and dispersing agents, anti-foaming agents, anti-skinning agents, dryers, anti-settling agents, plasticizers, fire retarding agents, and various other examples. Of the finishing equipment to be discussed, the primary tool is the paintbrush, mainly found in three different types, each intended for a different use. All have the same technique in their use and maintenance. Avoid dipping the full bristles into the paint, and they must be washed with gasoline, followed by soapy water, plain water, dried, and finally wrapped in a clean cloth. Secondly, rollers coming in various sizes are used for covering larger spaces in a short period of time. Knowing this, it is not an efficient tool for corners. However, they can come customized with patterns for a decorative, hassle-free finish. For a fast-drying, uniform covering, spray paint is a suggestion. Despite the health-impairing fumes it is known to discharge. Other tools include a plaster knife, sponges, towels, and stamps. Upon creating the actual paint that is required, a mixture is used to combine the various components of paint discussed previously to create a homogeneous blend. Different types include manual, automatic, kneaders, colloid mills, rotary churns, or just mixing by air streams. The selection of a specific mixer is to be used depending on the intended viscosity, density, and solid particle size. To grind the paint, we can use either a roller or a ball mill. Roller mills cannot be used for paints containing high volatility because the mill is open, thus it would be released into the atmosphere. With the ball mills, if steel is used, then only dark color paints can be used. However, if with pebble or ceramics, lighter color paints can be grinded. More commonly, we see in larger modern factories using both vertical and horizontal sand mills as well as dyno mills. Additionally, we also have filters, which are used to clear contaminated paint. One of 5 methods can be used: single-cylinder mill, fine screens, filter press, centrifugal separators, and settling for varnish purification. Lastly, the packaging machines play an important role in packaging the paint to be shipped to retailers. The packing process can be manual, semi-automatic, or automatic. The following is the application procedure for the interior wall painting. Number 1, clean the surface by any of the following: sanding, washing, or scraping. Number 2, repair work through waterproofing, insecticides, and cement patching. Number 3, insert the cement plastering. Plastering is added after being done with the brickwork, then paint can be applied. There exists 2 types of plaster: gypsum-based, commonly used in the ceiling, and cement-based, which is commonly used in the walls. Number 4, fill the cracks and gaps, then add primer coating in cement. Number 5, use 2 layers of paste of similar colors. And number 6, open the crack and fill it with crack paste, which must be well matched with the paint that will be used, if any cracks appear on the walls. And finally, the final layer is the paint layer. The manufacturing process is generally similar for all types of paint. There are 4 main steps in the manufacturing process. The first step is mixing, in which the raw materials are mixed in mixtures, which are vertical drums with a rotating paddle of various sizes. Mixing time varies from 1.5 to 2 hours depending on the type of paint and the properties of the mixer. The purpose behind mixing is to achieve the required viscosity, density, and solid particle size. The second step, which takes place in the manufacturing process, is grinding. In that stage, the mixed ingredients are transferred from the mixer to the grinder by a pump. The mixture is then grinded to achieve the correct grade of fineness. Grinding occurs in rollers or bead mills, which are horizontal rotating drums full of steel balls or glass beads. Grinding usually takes about 30 minutes. Thirdly comes the finishing stage, in which the paint is transferred to finishing tanks where it is treated as necessary with further resins, solvents, and additives. The fourth and final step in the paint manufacturing process is filling. In the filling stage, the finished product is then filled into cans, which are then packed manually into cartons. The paint cans are filled using filling machines of different types: manually operated, semi-automatic or automatic, gravimetric or volumetric.
The paint factory produces an uncolored base. The store then tints that base to the color ordered by the customer. Latex paint contains water, latex for adhesion, titanium dioxide, calcium carbonate, potassium, zinc for mildew resistance, and whatever additives the particular type of paint requires. For example, if it's paint designed for metal, a rust inhibitor. They pump the water into a large mixing tank. Then they add a thickening agent and stabilizer to prevent the ingredients from settling to the bottom of the tank and to the bottom of the can once the paint is packaged. A vacuum duct sucks up the waste. One at a time, all the ingredients except the latex go in. There's a specific mixing time after each ingredient because proper blending is critical for quality. Now they pump the tank's contents into another mixing tank that contains the latex. After 4 to 6 hours of blending, the industrial-sized batch of paint base is finally ready. The factory subjects a sample from every batch to extensive quality control testing. This viscometer measures the thickness of the paint. This test assesses how well the dry ingredients have dispersed within the mix. This tells them whether the mix is blended well enough to move into the second tank containing the latex. Technicians also conduct color tests, adding recipes of liquid colorants to a gallon sample. This is to ensure the shade comes out exactly the way it's supposed to. To check if the paint covers well, they brush it onto test paper. The stripes provide a contrast so that any defects in the paint, such as foam or grit, will show. This test evaluates tint strength. Once the paint sample dries, they analyze its color properties with a machine called a spectrophotometer. Once the batch passes inspection, it proceeds to packaging. Latex paint contains about 60% water, which corrodes metal, so the steel cans are lined with an anti-rust coating. The cans run over a glue applicator, then over a label, which instantly sticks to the adhesive. The next stop is a filling machine. Each can sits on a scale that's positioned under a dispensing nozzle. Once the scale detects the correct net weight, it triggers the nozzle to stop. From the filling machine to a lid dispenser that drops a cover onto each can. Then it's onto what's called a lid press. As each can passes underneath, a row of cylinders gradually presses in the lid. The next machine, called a baler, attaches a curved handle made of steel wire. It locks the handle lens into metal discs on both sides of the can. The factory varies its formulations to produce paint in lusters ranging from flat to high gloss, and for interior and exterior use, making sure it's got every possible application covered.
The Egyptian paint industry is a highly fragmented one, with several players including homemade paints produced by the informal sector. Around 50 to 60 local major producers are satisfying most of Egypt's demand. However, only 3 companies export more than 65% of this value. And now for a quick summary of the market. An estimate of 462,000 tons of architectural paint is being consumed annually in Egypt. The informal sector represents about 15% of this number, while the formal sector contributes to 350,000 tons of paint, with an estimated value of 1.8 billion pounds. The architectural market is composed of synthetic paints, emulsion paints, synthetic varnishes, and tinted paints. What we see here is the market distribution by volume and value. The consumers and market segments are divided as follows: regular paint traders, tinting paint traders, consulting firms, contractors and decorators, painters, and owners of buildings and houses. There are 4 critical service requirements for all paint companies. The first is product quality. The second, product consistency, as in minimum variation between batches, cans, and orders. Third comes availability, which also implies a speedy delivery of the material. And finally, price. The paint industry in Egypt is highly competitive, and therefore fair pricing market is a key concern. The architectural paints market is divided into 3 price categories. The first is premium, which represents 10 to 15% of the market and is dominated by Uton. The second is the middle category, representing 70 to 80% of the market and for which Packen is the key player. And finally, the third is the economic category, for which here is no key dominator because of the high competition. In terms of the local market supply, the competition structure is based on the type of paints being sold. Packen is the market leader for synthetic paints, followed by Sipes. For emulsion paints, Sipes is the market leader, followed by Packen. For varnishes, Mido, Capsi, and GLC are all key players, while Uton is the market leader for tinted paints. Now we will discuss some key companies in the industry in Egypt. Perhaps the best known worldwide, Uton is a Norwegian company established in 1926 and introduced to the Egyptian market in the last decade. Its factory is located in Ismailia. Pakin was established in 1958 and is currently the market leader in Egypt in terms of production size, sales volume, and value. Its factory is located in El Arbour city. Skib was established in 1978 by the Musa family, but 60% of the shares are now owned by an Indian manufacturer called Asian Paints. The factory is located in the 6th of October city and the headquarters are in Zamalek. Sipes was introduced to the Egyptian market in 1989. It is also available in the markets of several other Middle Eastern countries. Its factory is located at the 10th of October city. Some other prominent companies are GLC, located in El Arbour city, Al Jazeera, and National, which are both Saudi-based companies. The table visible on screen presents a summary and comparison between product models and prices of some of these key companies. It can be noted that Uton has a higher price range while Skib and Sipes have lower ranges and Pakin is in an average range. Finally, this map shows the location of each of the companies based in Egypt. We hope you enjoyed this presentation about the paint industry. These are the references we used for the information obtained in addition to the primary market research work that we did. Thank you.